Hi folks, how you doing? My name is Marc Gallagher and I am a professional musician and ukulele player. And for a living, I play ukulele live. And one thing that I've done a lot over the past year is developed a little bit of a pedalboard for my acoustic gigs, be those at ukulele events where I'm mostly playing my own music, or during my covers gigs, which is most of my work. I've built up a little bit of a pedalboard over this year, and it's attracted some interest from people who see me at gigs. And I wanted to do a little video today just walking through my board, what I have, why I have it, in case that hopefully inspires you on your journey of improving and finding your sound. So the whole thing started for me because I wanted to get a little bit of compression, a bit of like just squashing and little bit of a squeeze on like my quite energetic playing. Most of the time I am playing my gigs using a acoustic amp in the form of a Fishman Loudbox, either a mini charge or the Performer, or a AER compact mobile 2. So I'm dealing with generally a pretty small PA that's already got built-in reverb as well. The very first pedal that I got was the LR Baggs Session Acoustic DI. I got this one because LR Baggs are renowned for their acoustic preamps. My ukuleles have preamps already because the MiSi pickup is active. It's got a small preamp in, but I thought it'd be nice just because of the little comp EQ section, which I thought was quite interesting. The way that basically works is instead of, it's like a dynamic EQ where it kind of compresses certain parts of the frequency spectrum as opposed to doing outright general squashing, or unlike 3-band EQ, like the Venue has a simple bass, middle, treble. The comp EQ works a bit more of an interesting way, which I generally find really accents the treble in a pleasing way. Okay, so firstly, we're just going to have a little play through the LR Baggs Session DI with nothing else really active. We'll see what that sounds like so far. I've got the volume and gain set to 12 o'clock, just because like it's kind of inoffensive enough. I'm not clipping on my VU meter on the board, well, on the preamp itself, so I feel like I'm a bit safe. I'm going to take the comp EQ out of the equation so you can hear the difference that's making. So you can see it loses a bit of top end as a result, and I like having that little bit of a trebly sparkle. There's also a saturate knob in case you want to add a bit of growl. Generally speaking, I don't use any, but just to show you what it sounds like. It's got a lot of growl to it. Generally, I never use it. I'll have it either completely off or I will have it like the tiniest amount. So, there's also a notch filter, which I never use. So the acoustic DI session pedal, a part of me wishes that I got the Align version of this, which functions more as a guitar pedal, in which instead of the switch here being a mute, no sound, it's actually turning the pedal effects on and off. It doesn't have the XLR output, but I don't mind that because I'm not using the XLR output at any point. So a part of me wishes I could swap this out and get an Align series session pedal, but that's not where I'm at right now at the moment. Next thing for this, I go into a EQ7, little 7-band EQ pedal. It's very small. It has bands going down to 63 hertz as well as up to 5 kilohertz. This is because the comp EQ is just one knob that, broadly speaking, adds a bit of top end, but I wanted to have a bit more control over this, so I got just a small, no real big brand or big reputable EQ pedal. And what I've done here is I've put up a little bit of the 120-ish hertz because in my music I like to I like to hit around the bridge and get the percussive thing going. So what I'm usually finding myself doing is going through this EQ. My moves will change depending on the gig and what I'm feeling. Right now, as I set it up for here, I gave a little bit of a boost in the bass to kind of show you what I'm usually going through, what I'm usually doing percussively. I took out a bit 500 just to make it sound a bit cleaner with less sort of lower mids. And then I just gave a little boost at 5K just to accentuate this very trebly sound here. Then going through, we go into the A-B switch, which is why I should probably draw some attention to why I have two different preamps in the form of both the LR bags and this Headway EBD2HE. I came across the Headway firstly from seeing Alex Bed perform live at the Bracklesham Ukulele Weekends, which was a very good performance and a very good festival. And he was running both two different ukuleles, one baritone, one tenor, through this preamp. And basically it's got two different channels and two different rows of gain and EQ, as well as a notch filter, which I don't use, and a harmonic enhancer, which I do use. The reason why this really spoke to me is because I've got this Pono baritone, this big baritone, which has two pickups in, because it's got one pickup, which is the piezo, the MiSi. And on its own, the MiSi can sound a bit quacky and a bit too trebly. It can find a bit of a balance, an imbalance more so, when you're looking at the lower wound strings versus the higher unwound strings. So the B and E, I'm not hearing as clearly. If I was to go, I don't get as much volume as I would quite like on the higher two strings, especially if I'm trying to do. I struggle like getting a bit more volume and making those fills stand out. So I got a second pickup put in. I got an LR Bags lyric pickup, which is a microphone, and that goes in here, and it's got its own separate socket. So by having this preamp set up the way it is, it means I can blend and EQ both of those signals separately. Means that I can get the clarity. I'm just going to switch over now and show you just the sound of the microphone pickup as it is. So what I'm doing there, in terms of its EQ, I am just taking out a lot of the bass there because I don't need it because it's being covered nicely by the MiSi. Adding a load of treble, and I've just got a hint of mid there just to try and help. And when I blend both of those together, and it sounds so beautiful and detailed when I'm finger picking. So what I have there are two different gains, and again, like I back off and I try and blend it in such that the microphone is one you don't really notice when it's there, but like you can still get some of the body responses from how I'm sort of like rubbing the board here. That's the microphone that's picking that up. But it's not too mad, and then the master I've got to 12 o'clock. I will change this depending on the gig, where I basically level match the sound of the baritone and its relative volume versus the volume of my tenor ukulele. So I then go into the switcher, which then takes me to this uke. And then you try and get those levels as close to each other as possible. And that's what I find so far, and that's the reason why I've got that switcher, so I can pop between the two instruments. And this is so much better when I am working at a festival rather than giving a sound engineer, here's one ukulele with 2 pickups, and also here is another ukulele, and giving them 3 DIs to worry about, I'm blending this all into one, and I'm going, here's one plug on your end, and then I'm going to sort the rest out. As long as I get a decent sound check so I can level match these and not give the sound engineer a headache, then we're all good. So what we're going to do now is shift on over to what's next on in the chain, which is just a simple Donner DT1 tuner. It is a tuner. It is a tuner pedal. I don't need to have really expensive tuners, so it mutes the signal and allows me to tune quite clearly, and I have it after the switcher just so that I don't have to buy an extra tuner for the extra preamp. What's more interesting is going into the TC Helicon Harmony Singer. So I got a vocal harmony pedal because I was inspired when I saw The Small Horse and the Plan, a covers duo around the Northwest. And they've got a different pedal, but they've still got a use of vocal harmony effects. And I thought it would be a nice way as a solo artist to make myself sound a little bit bigger. So what's happening is my microphone, which is almost always a Telefunken M81. Sometimes I vary it, be it like an SM50A, a Shure KSM 185, or 185, or sometimes I'll use a condenser microphone like the Ear Trumpet Labs Edwina, or the Neumann, which I've demonstrated before on this channel, on this page. But goes in through here and then out of that little red cable, and that's going out. I'm recording this out into my Focusrite Claret interface. Otherwise, it would go into my amp. Otherwise, it would go into the venue's PA of choice. The way I've got it set, and you can do various harmony modes, I usually set this to 1/3 above and 1/3 below. Level, I've got it set to 9 o'clock, which I think is not too intrusive. Reverb, I never have it because personally, I don't really like the sound of the reverb on this pedal. It's got 3 different kinds, a room, a club, and a hall. I don't like the sound of any of them. I usually just trust the reverb that's already built into either my amp or the venue and their desk is supplying. Usually it has reverb and it usually sounds nice enough. So here is a demonstration briefly of that pedal. Dark in the city, the night is a wire. Stealing the subway, the earth is a fire. Do, 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 do. In touch with the ground, I'm on the hunt, I'm after you. Sound to the sound, I'm lost and I'm found, and I'm hungry like the wolf. So the guitar input, or ukulele input in this case, that is informing the chords that are being played, and thus it helps the pedal decide what kind of thirds to use. If I wanted to go for something a bit subtler than that, I might just switch it to just a third above. Here it is with just a third above. In touch with the ground, I'm on a hunt and after you. Sometimes if I'm playing country songs, then I might set it to be a third and a fifth above. Yeah, when that summer sun starts to beating down and you don't know what to do, grab your swimming trunks, a something old and drive until the mountains blue. There's little Brad Paisley, Water, the song that kind of got me into like his music at the very least. But again, the vast majority of the time I have it on a third above and a third below. It gives me a bit of thickness, and then by setting the level as what I have done, it means that we've got just a little bit of a lift. It's not being overbearing, because sometimes, like when harmony pedals are badly used, which often means overused, then it's not too desirable. Next up in the chain is a Tone City Tape Machine small delay pedal. So the reason for this one is because I already have reverb available in my amp, so I don't need an additional pedal. However, delay gives a little bit of a boost, mainly just a little bit of a lift. However, I set it to be an always on but always very, very small, very, very quiet. And I like the results that we have. So, without, with. Just gives a tiny bit of a lift, but basically every metric available, the delay time, the level of the repeat, and how much it repeats, how much it feeds back into itself, they're all very, very low. I've got them on a clock system, I've got them at like 8 o'clock or lower. So small and tiny. If I was to do that same lick, not getting much there. It's just a little bit of a lift, especially when you are on a stage and in a slightly bigger PA environment. So I keep my tape machine delay pretty much always on here. Then the next part of the equation, I go into the UA-FX Max. I decided, right, a compressor is what I really wanted, and I got what is basically one of the best, kind of nicest, also most bougie compressors you could get. So the UA-FX Max is a emulation of both a LA2A compressor as well as also options for a 1176 compressor. So those are very revered analog compressors in the recording studio world. So I love the sound of an LA2A. I love the sound of the Universal Audio software on my recording. When I'm making my records, I am using their sound. So to get that in a pedal, it is wonderful. So turning the compressor on, we have this. Good, turn it off. There's an obvious volume difference there, but I can also make it more so like unity gain, so it's not that different coming out as it is coming in. The frequency response, I'm getting much more treble, much more sparkle. The red knob that we have here is for the preamp. It's got an emulation of a Universal Audio preamp that feeds it, and I've only got a little bit of that in right now, which just tickles what's going in. With that preamp off, sounds like. Put that preamp on. It just sounds wonderful. I've got the comp, despite where the level is set for this. That green light means that thing's on, but the compressor's not actually compressing. Only when you see that flash of an orange light are you getting like the glimmer of the compression being activated. And if I was to hit it even harder, it would be a red light showing that it's compressing more. But I'm not getting that much gain reduction out of it. I'm just getting the character of this really nice, really slow compression, really soft, generally speaking. So I have my compressor here as pretty much an always-on setting, because if it's the choice between and that just sounds so much nicer, and I have it as an always-on thing. Occasionally, I might add the 1176 in. However, this doesn't always work and give me the best results. In my opinion, those two combined can be a bit woolly. The 1176 on its own, for those wondering. LA2A. I think the 1176 has a bit more girth to it, but the LA2A has just got a bit more sparkle. And then lastly, from here, it's going into this nano looper. I already have like a decent loop pedal in the form of my Boss RC50, which is like, it's this big. It is 3 different phrases that you can loop, and you can get a lot of really cool stuff with that. And I used to use that a lot with gigs. However, mostly I kind of strayed away from it because I like to keep all my work and all my music and the sounds within the ukulele itself. So I'd be able to do something like, Annie, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay, Annie? Annie, you okay? Annie, are you okay? You okay, Annie? Annie, are you okay? Won't you tell us that you're okay? As a result, I don't have the need for like an extra looper because oftentimes I'm doing a lot of work at the same time. However, by having this little nano looper here, it gives me the option for if I want to go through like a 4-chord trick, then I can build something with it, like... Used to rule the world, see the light when I gave the world. In the morning I sleep alone, see the streets that I used to own. However, the disadvantage that I've found with the looper so far in the limited amount of time that I've used it is that the double tapping to stop it, but then because there's only one switch, if I want to now clear that loop because the song's finished, and what I have to do is I need to press it and hold it, but that means that it will play it again, albeit briefly. So now, and that can be a bit awkward at gigs at the moment. So the hack I had briefly was my last gig that I played, I quickly unplugged the output of here, which goes to the whole PA, and then I just very quickly held it and muted it and, you know, hope for the best and hope that I didn't just get a massive boom coming from this. So the loop is not my favorite part of the board. It's just an extra something to have because I had a little bit of space for it. And that is generally my pedal board. And I'm shooting this in a different way because normally when I'm playing this, my board is right at my feet and the microphone stand is right behind the board. Because of the way I'm filming this, I'm having to do things slightly differently, but that's so that you can see clearly what I'm doing as I'm doing it without having a mic stand in your face. So overall, that is my pedal board. All the things I've got and why I've got them. It is to be able to switch between 2 different instruments using these 2 different preamps. One case, it's mixing 2 pickups together to make the sound engineer's job easier, rather than going, here's one with 2 pickups, 1 piezo, 1 mic, you figure it out. I've kind of done that work for them. And then I've blended it all together, going through a vocal harmony pedal, which is probably like the centerpiece of the work that I do and the sound that I make. And it's what attracts a lot of people's attention. But like, it also makes my uke sound really nice, especially coming through that max compressor. And then I give a little bit of an ambient lift with a very small tape delay. This is what I have so far, and I very much like it. However, it's not perfect, and it's one that I am going to change and improve upon within the next year. So what are the limitations? Firstly, noise. You can probably hear like this background noise that is coming, what I presume from the power supply or from some pedal that is not playing ball. And so far, I have been doing too many gigs to take the board apart and then go through each pedal individually to find out which one's the culprit, if any, or if it's just the power supply. But that's something that does need a bit of a look, especially when it's going directly in a recording like this, as opposed to when it's live and it's going into an acoustic amplifier and everyone's talking anyway, so you don't really notice it. However, it's something that does bug me a little bit. The next problem I have is just in terms of the space and the layout, because literally the pedals are spilling over the edges of the board to accommodate for the space. So literally the bottom of the headway is spilling over, the top of the session is spilling over. It's not the most stable thing to carry. The next issue we also have is like the cabling. So the inputs for the headway are right by my feet, and either when you're using a right angled cable, you've got either having the sticky out end on the instrument itself, which is not conducive to helping it stand up well in a stand, or you have it coming out through here. And I've got like an example of each to kind of demonstrate the issue. So I could have the right angle here and it's not right in my feet's way, or I could have that right angle going into the uke to make it easier for it to stand, but also I can very easily kick, stand on, break this cable. It's not ideal. Because of the layout of the Harmony Singer pedal, it needs to be right in front of my feet so I can go hi. But also it's a pain to have the XLRs like needing to go over the top. I can't have much in the way here because I've got to have the XLR clearance. And then just the board itself, I've got Velcro on it everywhere, but in terms of how it's housed, I've got literally just a couple of long screws that are acting as the legs that are holding the board up to angle the board slightly and give me clearance to store the power supply underneath. But it's a pain. So my plan is very much to spend the time reworking this board with a different fancy enclosure that's bigger and more durable, because right now this doesn't feel too safe in a case or in my luggage, and I found that out the hard way when Ryanair broke a couple of knobs on the headway. So I need to do that, and also hopefully get it wired properly with a better power supply. I've seen some boards which have the really fancy, the inputs sockets are on the side of the board itself and everything else is pretty much hardwired with custom fit and made cabling that's just the right size. And I'd like to get, for the TC Helicon, I'd like that harmony pedal to be using right angled XLRs so that I can feed the cable itself under directly without needing to have a load of stuff over the top of it. So I have ideas and I'm working on that now, but for the time being, I want to do this video that kind of showed my pedal board and all the cool stuff it does. This has been a really fun development of my music over the last year, both in what I've performed live and some of what I've recorded and will continue to record. And I plan on making some more cover videos that will use this board as well as miking up my ukes, obviously. So it's an outlook over that, and you can feed my pedal and pedalboard habit by going to patreon.com/Marc Gallagher Music and supporting me there, becoming a patron. Thank you to all those who are my patrons, especially, but also especially thank you to Kirsten Demchuk, Patty Dawson, Pete McCarty, Susan Harder, along with many, many more. You can follow me on your social media of choice at Marc Gallagher Music. And yeah, my name is Marc Gallagher. Follow me on places. Like the video if you want. Subscribe if you feel compelled to. And I'll catch you down the road.